Well, I am honored and thrilled to have Jordan Daniels on Wild and Wise podcast today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You have been quite the busy human being. You are involved in so many things, but most recently you got an incredible honor that I thought we could kind of intro you by also talking about this beautiful honor that you just got.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm assuming you mean the Spirit of Stonewall one. Yeah, it's interesting because the point of doing a lot, I feel like, I was texting you this yesterday or maybe today. I feel like this past month I've been in my PR bag more than ever. Like my background's PR and journalism, so I'm used to it. And with Black Pride, I typically have taken a more communications and PR stance on things.
Hmm.
And we had Black Pride 2 weeks ago, and so there are several news outlets that would talk to us that I was going to talk with them about that. But then because of the award, I got several news folks to talk to me as well too. Then we had the news again for our float this year, and then we had a question about like how we feel about policing and pride. So just like a lot of PR stuff that I was not prepared for. That's been really good, and it kind of underscores the fact that I've been doing a lot lately, and it's been really exhausting and really cool. And part of me feels like I'm like fighting for my life right now. I'm so tired from it, but it's been really special because when I got the award, and I say this when I said this in my interview with the Word SD, I when I first was told, I was like, "Are you sure you mean me, like Jordan Daniels? Are you sure I'm the
Oh,
one that you want to give it to?" Because I'm not somebody who I usually when I see my work, I am not somebody who I believe that I do good work and I believe that it's important to me, but I don't like see myself as this like being that does great work in the community often because I don't allow myself the time to reflect. And so this award has been like a really forced pause to be like, oh, I actually have given a decade of my time and myself to the work in the region and all of SoCal, but from helping put on the first drag show ever at my community college to helping create a queer resource corner or center in my school to doing queer work in Long Beach where I went to university, to coming back and doing work with Black Pride or the Black LGBTQ Coalition when it first started, when I first came back here. I have given a lot. I've given a lot to it, and I've done work for a long time. And I was like, oh, I probably was like, I guess I am deserving in some ways. I'm trying to remind myself that I'm deserving of good things. And it feels
yeah.
really special and also wild. Like I never anticipated and I know that the award is given to like young activists, which is great because I'm approaching 30, and not that 30 is old anyway, but like I'm approaching 30 in this, and so I'm like, wow, I'm actually like growing older in a way that I did not anticipate for a long time, and so I see myself
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like, oh, they think I'm young still. Yeah, I mean, 30s is still young for sure. 30s is still young. But the way we view time and age in this world, right? It's like what's
Yeah.
young now. So it feels good to like get that award, and it also reminds me of how much more time there is to do stuff.
Yes.
But it's a really incredible honor, and I feel really, really grateful to have gotten the award. It's been an interesting time, I'll say as well, because like pride as an institution and any pride as an institution is always an interesting thing for myself because I'm someone who doesn't love institutions and wants to often take down institutions. I'm all trying to find the space of gratitude and joy, but also like how do you hold something accountable that you also appreciate and also get benefits from. I'm trying to like juggle that more, but it's really just like it feels good to see that my community, because the awards are also when community nominates you for it, and so the
Right.
community sees me as a leader. I see myself as someone who's just in community. I don't necessarily think I lead things, but that's probably my own like stuff to work on. But the community
Yeah.
sees me that way. It was really, really good. Sorry, that was a long rambling about it.
No, I'm loving it. I love you and I love your energy. I love your freedom, the freedom of who you
Mm,
are.
mm.
And I just, I see you moving in the world either digitally or I was lucky enough to get to spend some time with you at a few of my events that you came to that I was so grateful to see you. And
Mm.
you can just see like the people around you cherish the space that you're in and who you are. So that's really why I thought it was important for us to do this.
Yes. I'm really, really excited to be here to talk with you today, Alex, because you're somebody who I think exemplifies a lot of just like radical badassness. And I truly mean this, like you exemplify radical badassness in everything that you do, in the way that you show up. and the way that you come as a full human to the work that you do. And so I'm really, it means a lot to be in the space with you today, because I really just am enamored and awe of how you show up. So thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really, really appreciate that. A lot of being wild and wise is something that I think we all experience, this wild creativity, this wild surge of change within us. But one thing that I noticed that you said when we first started this conversation was that you put on the first ever drag show at your school. And so I'm curious to like dive a little bit deeper into not just like really how that came about, but really like where does that come from inside of you and I mean, clearly you're a leader in a lot of ways, right? Like you're someone to watch.
Mm,
You're smart and you're informed and you are really talking about topics that you've become a leader in. And so that
mm.
leadership obviously stems from something. Where do you feel like that came from?
Ooh, great question. I think I've always had this innate sense in me, and I historically don't talk about this a lot. I've been trying to, in the past few like shows I've been on, I've been trying to like share it more because I want to be like transparent with myself in this way and others. I feel since I was young, I had this like innate knowledge that I am meant to do something. And I don't know if it's like the biggest thing in the world. I don't know if I'm gonna change the whole world, but I know I'm meant to like, I don't know if it's like lead people, but like lead myself with vision. I feel really
Mhm,
connected to my vision. I feel really connected to impact and trying to do good impact in the world, whatever that looks like for me or for for other folks. I feel connected to a higher being and power that moves
mhm,
me. So I think I think those are kind of my like where I got that from. I think to be specific about the drag show, I mean that's something that I in the GSA I was in, formerly Gay Straight Alliance, now it's Intersexuality Alliance at that school. Um, I was I was like the title was like social liaison, so I was in charge of doing programs, and we had a set of programs that we did every year. But we also like, how can we do something more engaging and more exciting for queer folks? We know that drag is a huge part of like queerness and queer experiences, and we knew that there's a drag show that would happen every year in Oceanside in North County, San Diego. That was at like a local bar that was always so much fun. But we're like, how can we bring this to our students, right? Like, not every student's going to go, not every student can go because not every student's going to be 21 plus. And we thought, okay, let's just try it. Like, let's see what happens. We have a pretty queer accepting campus. At in 2014, but we don't know how much it will how much we'll see. We'll put that to the test more. And it was me and the president were just like, let's just see what happens. Like, let's try a drag show. And they were kind of like, do we do this? And I was like, if I find the people to do it, then like, can we do this? Like, I think we have a small budget, make it work. We can get community folks to do it. I know one queen from Lip San Diego that I think would be amazing as well. And they're like, okay, if you can get the people, we can get the space. I'm like, let's see what happens. And we expected maybe like 50 people to come to that, and we had 200 people come to that, and that was wild because the space in which we had the venue which we had on campus was not a space meant for 200 people. Like, it was a fire hazard, but the administration was like, people are already here, and we would just let it happen. And it kind of shook the campus. Like, people were like, oh, because also it's a community college as well, right? So it's not like a university where people come and dorm and like people come here, they commute and they leave. So for people to
yeah,
actually come and stay and really enjoy themselves. And it was the first time actually, it's actually the first time that I did drag as well too. It wasn't my plan to do it, but we need one more slot. And I remember talking to the president, and they were like, you should do it. And I was like, no. And so they were like, just like we had auditions, like, just try out for us and see what happens. So I was like, okay, try it out. And everyone was like, Jordan needs to do it. And I was like, no, I don't think I can. And then I put on my my little wedges, because I was a wedge girl. Put my little wedges, a little wig. I named myself Madame Juice, Jew, Miss Juice. And I ate that performance. I ate my both performances, and it was really incredible. And I think that was kind of like a big launch into my activism as well too, because that was more than over a decade ago, and that was something that I realized, oh, I want to create spaces of joy for people. And I
yeah,
think my leadership, right, isn't so much about fighting against something, isn't so much about like trying to change something, but it's fighting for joy with
Yeah.
others. And I want to fight for joy in whatever I do.
Well, here you are because you are pure joy.
Mm.
I love that because, you know, you were doing it in a setting that was just, it seems like you took something that was, and I don't want to say mundane, but like you said, like the programming was there and it was fine, but you were like really ready to shake it up. And I feel like,
Yeah.
you know, you've done that with your podcast and you've done that with so many other things. Tell us more about how the podcast came about and how it has gotten so big. I mean, you guys have
Yeah.
just changed the game and you're in San Diego. I mean, I don't know that many San Diego podcasters that have achieved the sort of
Thank you.
level that you guys have.
That's so sweet to hear that, because I think we, as hosts, and I imagine you may feel this way too, right? Like constantly having to battle, what does it mean to have listens or downloads? What does it mean to actually have impact? And so, like, we have X amount of downloads, but does that mean we have impact and such? And people tell us that we're impactful, but like, how if we don't see it in numbers? So we have to like play that game a lot. But the podcast BFF Black Fat Femme came about because my co-host John, and John, I've known for about a decade as well too. I met them when I was at my university, and they were the director. They were working at the university as well, and I was working in social media. And so we were always in spaces together. And we both were writers outside of work, both focused on entertainment and social commentary. And I was doing fashion. They were doing like a lot of like film and TV critique. And so we always kept in touch from there. And I've always like seen them as you know, as like a sister, as like a sis and mentor to me. And
Mhm,
then when they did a program with iHeart, it was the Disruptors Fellowship, which was about bringing intentionally sidelined or marginalized folks to the forefront of podcasting. And there are several different shows that came about, and each one was giving like an 8 episode run. And it was like, if after 8 episodes we we like it, we'll see if we keep it on, or what, how that happens. But
mhm,
early in the development of this show, John realized that they want to co-host, and they reached out to me and said, "Hey, I did a podcast with iHeart. It's it's going to be a big undertaking, but I think it'd be great for this. What do you think?" And I had done a podcast before with my with one of my best friends and previous roommate, and we did a show that was like fully like, when I say like from scratch, we like, I just used the W Audition. We used like a free hosting website hosting to. I was like, it was janky but cute. And so I had that experience in that way, and my background in journalism, so I love interviewing people, so I knew I felt good about it, and it was a great way for me to elevate how I use my voice in things. Because I already had a voice on social media, but how do I uplift it in a different way? And this
mhm,
made perfect sense. And so we talked about what the show would be about. We knew we wanted to be about like, fat folks and black folks and queer folks. And then we were like, Black Fat Femme. And then I was like, oh, how about BFF for short? Like BFF Black Fat Femme. And also it's cute. We say, hey, BFFs, right? And makes it like nice and fun. And they're like, oh, that's bitch. We're like, okay, we see each other on this. And so we made 3 pitch episodes. We pitched to iHeart. They loved it, and they said, "Let's do it. Let's do a season." And half of that season, they actually reached out to us and said, "We actually love the show so much. We're going to just do an annual contract instead." So we went from an 8 episode to a 52 episode run, and then now this is our third year renewal. So we will have 156 episodes out by July next year, which is wild. We just hit 100 episodes last month, which is amazing. And in the
That's
show, I mean, we talk with folks who are really incredible BFF Black Fat Femme change makers, who their work ranges from activism in prison abolition to ethical AI to media and TV to folks on Drag Race to folks hosting Drag Race to folks hosting other queer trans experiences around the country. Like, it's really amazing. And I think John with John's network, their background in entertainment writing, they were able to pitch to a lot of publications to feature us, and the publications were like, we want to feature you, we want to feature this work. We got featured by Apple. We were a podcast of the month for Apple. We've been featured on them 3 times now for like mental health and for sexuality. For Pride Month, we've been featured by Into More, been featured by Essence and Ebony, which has been amazing to be like two big black publications. And people have really loved what we do and who we have. And I love it. Every other episode is just the two of us, and then we have a guest every other episode. It's a great balance of keeping us together. We have great chemistry as co-hosts. And I mean, that it drew us closer. Like, John is my sister. I love them so much. And I feel like we have a great we have a great like repertoire as people, but we also have a great chemistry with our guests as well too.
Mhm.
We both strive to ask really good questions, what that looks like for us, and people respond well. And our vibe is like it's cookout, it's therapy, it's family lunch. Come to the dinner table, and sometimes we get into politics and stuff too. It's been really amazing. I wasn't. We've had one live show. We're having another live show actually this year too here in San Diego. So make sure that I invite you to that, which will be
I would love to
amazing.
go.
We did not anticipate it being this big. Like when I say big, I mean there are times where I've walked down the street and people have like in their cars be like, Joe, I love your podcast and drive away. Or
Oh
John
my
will get stopped in the airport and be like, oh my God, I love your podcast. And it's so wild because again, you don't think who's listening, and then someone will
God.
stop you and say, I love your show. Your show's everything. And I'm like, oh my God, what? Like you actually listen? Like I'm just in my room just talking shit sometimes. So thank you. And it's yeah, I never saw it. We never knew how big it could get, but it shows it's a testament to when you're intentional about what you put out and intentional
Mhm.
about what you strive to do, then people will see it and react well to it.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you. I think I want to really dive into like that because even for myself, as I interview people, like we're still very new to this. My first podcast I did when I first moved to San Diego, I did this. I didn't know anybody. And I kept finding and following these amazing people on Instagram. But I didn't have like an outlet to meet up with people. And was a single
Mm.
mom. So I couldn't be like, hey, let's go get a drink or whatever.
Mm.
And so I just created this event called Hustlecraft where we did this like speaking panel, and I didn't know any of these people, and they all said yes, which was amazing. But long story short, during the pandemic, I just turned that into a podcast. I was literally, like you said, like janky as fuck, like. But I would ask, like, like I found this amazing book about like the spirit of psychedelics and this, like, the
Mm.
foremost doctor that studied it. And she studied like MDMA, and she was in like the leading hospital in New York and studying the way that this affected like veterans with PTSD and all these other
Mm.
things. And she was like, yeah, sure, because it was the pandemic, and everyone was just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go on
Yeah.
your podcast. I was like very like, I'm just sitting at home anyways.
Facts.
And so that was my first real like foyer into, and it was like a recorded Zoom. Like there was nothing else going on. But I got some incredible, like the holistic psychologist who's on Instagram and has like 5 million followers. And so that was like amazing. But I never thought about the end listener, and not in a way
Mm.
that I wasn't considering my audience, but in a way that I, as myself, as a queer woman, as a mother, as a business owner and somebody that, seeks intellectualism and knowledge. I was just
Mm.
interviewing these people for my own desires, and I can
Mm-hmm.
talk to anyone. I've always been that way. So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to like channel that through this. So that was first. And then I was lucky enough to meet Claire Johnson, um, who owns San Diego Magazine and is the CEO. And she and I hit it off from the first day. Our little bellies touched each other because we were both pregnant at the same time. And
Oh.
our connection came at a party where she's like, we met and she's like, oh my God, you're pregnant. We were like the same pregnancy. She's like, how are you? And I was like, I want a drink. This fucking sucks. I need a cigarette. And she's like, oh my God, you're my spirit animal
She's like, oh my
because
God, it's someone who understands me. Thank you.
she and I love nicotine and we love to drink. And so we ended up launching San Diego Magazine's first ever female podcast. And so we launched Not a Parenting Podcast.
I yeah, I've listened to a few episodes. And I was like, oh, this is really really interesting, really cool.
Yeah, that was so much fun. And it was funny as we were coming up with the concept, I struggled because when I got pregnant, it was a surprise. And so I still struggle with my identity as a mother because I pour so much into my children, but I don't
Mm.
ever want to lose myself in that. And I really prioritize my mental health, my
Mm.
relationship to myself, my professional relationship. And, my success in work has a lot to do with my own fulfillment. Um,
Mm.
really,
Mm.
and an identity structure sort of on top of, because motherhood feels very inherent to me, my love feels overflowing to them, but I'm not like, I need some time off, like I'm definitely like,
Yeah.
I have my girls nights, I have my date nights, I have whatever. So she wanted it to be something to do with parenting, and I just thought, it's interesting because I don't really care to talk about like what's the best eco-friendly shoe for a young boy? Like it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, he's getting Vans or like shoes from Walmart, and that's just what's happening. And so she's like, what about not a parenting podcast? Because that's what you
Mm,
want. And I was like, okay.
mm,
So that's where we got the name from. And, you know, they were still evolving their podcasting and they were bringing in microphones and it was like crazy. And so even now with my right hand man Jenna, who has just really produced this entire thing, and my, you know, connections with just amazing humans, because I feel like I have a spirit that just is attracted to people just
mm.
like you and the other people that come on this show. Like those are like hand selected people that my soul has just like found. I mean, you and I literally were like DMing and we're like, we don't know each other, but why do we
At
love each
all,
other?
but I feel
Things.
kinship. Truly,
A
truly.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. 100. I do too. And so I think I'm saying this all to ask you, like, how do you make it so legit? Like, yes, I understand that there is like such an incredible thing that you guys are covering and who you're talking to and the chemistry of you two. But like for somebody like myself, even, or other like future podcasters listening, like,
Mm.
you know, what are the steps you took, like quite literally? Like, I want like a takeaway here. Like, how do you even pitch iHeartMedia? Like, how does that contracting work? Like, what equipment did you buy? Like, just a quick
Yeah.
moment for like,
Oh.
how does that look? Or like, how do you guys feel like you got it to this point? Like, what were like a few key things that you were like, this is what like fucked us up? Like, was it SEO? Was it like pushing some Instagram posts a little bit more than others? Like, you know, aside from the
Mm.
secret sauce of who you are as humans, because that's the most important reason why it does so well,
Mm,
what are
hmm.
some of the other like businessy things that I'm just interested in?
Yeah, no, super great question. I mean, one, I want to be really clear with anyone who wants to do a podcast. The secret sauce literally isn't about who you are and how you show up. Like that is going to be what makes it successful because you can have shitty equipment, you really can, and you can still have a great show by just be like by having great content. But I think production wise, I mean, I will say, and I'll try the best answer I can give. While holding that, I wasn't the one who was in the program. So John, John really was one who was kind of like handling those pieces. Right, they were in the fellowship. iHeart, iHeart was like, well, we'll give you a show. iHeart has they have a whole podcasting network. Now they have a vertical focus on queer and trans folks, so Outspoken Network, which one we're on now. But they gave a lot of support in that way. I would say, for me, so when I'll say in terms of equipment, right, they sent us Shure mics, which are mics that we use, and then a stand equipment as well. Having a great editor is really good too, logistically, like having a great editor to do the work, because I was someone who used to do podcasts myself. I just used Adobe Audition, and that is not like audio work is not easy. And then when you add video to it as well, you do two different programs. It is exhausting. So I
Yeah,
have a great
that's a
editor.
full-time job.
It's a full-time job. I
Yeah.
think in terms of like network pitching, I mean, this, we had it easier in because of the fellowship that John did. But there's Maximum Fun. There's oh my gosh, there's one that I'm trying to remember right now. But there's you can look up podcasting networks, and I would say I actually told someone recently who wants to do a podcast.
What
So similar to like like a TV network, right? Like now you see more and more podcasting networks of people who have a different slate, who have a certain slate of shows. So or you see TV shows or TV networks now having their own podcasting vertical as well too. And so there are traditional networks like iHeart Podcast Network, Maximum Fun. I think Stitcher may have their own podcast too. There used to be a network called Forever Dog that hosted a show that I loved. So traditional ones, then you have like TV and film networks or studios that then have their own
yeah,
podcasting
like
platform as well
pitching
too.
your own
Yeah,
show.
and so I would say like find networks like those and listen to what those shows are, because networks I believe will choose shows that kind of fit their own brand. And so when you find a network that you really love with the shows that you love, right? A lot of publications, like you said, San Diego Magazine has its own podcast. New York Times has several podcasts, right? So publications also have their own podcast networks. And so I would say find the network that you think is great, and
Amazing.
then I would say if you have a really great idea, email them, reach out to the people who of your favorite show and ask them, how do you get your show on there? How do I have a meeting with a network producer? If you there are people who also do producing freelancing and they have connections with other networks too. So find a good producer to do the show. I think
Do
in
you
terms,
do you
oh, go ahead.
feel, sorry, I want to ask a question. Do you
Yeah.
feel as though you have to already have a lot of listeners before they'll even consider you? Or do you think that they have like an eye where if they hear the content, it just hasn't gotten out? Because I feel like even nowadays, I was just looking at something on Instagram where this musician was like, it's so crazy. This record label absolutely loved us, but wouldn't sign us because we didn't have enough followers. And I get it.
Mm,
We're living in America and everything is
yeah.
based on those metrics, but there's just something
So
out of me that's like yearning for this to be
yeah,
something so much bigger. And I see what you've done. And, I'm just like, I wouldn't even know how to start to get there. And I'm sure people listening are also like,
yeah.
maybe they have a podcast too. And I
Great.
mean, I don't know
That's a great
if you're the right
question.
person to ask, but I just think to me, you've gone the furthest in podcasting than like,
That's very, very
a lot of
kind.
people.
So there are, there are folks who I know that definitely like that produce their own shows, and I think there's something to say about if you produce your own show for X amount of time and you garner a following on it, you can use that as leverage for sure. I think there is possibility of some shows that are just pitch. I think it sometimes comes down to who the person's attached to, right? Like Alex, you have a great reputation in the community and in the field, and so I think like if you met folks who may run networks, right, or have connection networks, you might be able to have an edge up because people know who you are, and so they're willing to invest and trust like your name, and then they might care so much about the followership or listenership, and they can work to help that grow.
Yeah.
So there are some networks that will help the podcast grow. I think to your point, I'm probably not the most right person because I'm not
Right.
the one that's directly involved, but I do talk a lot with other podcasters, and I do hear
Yeah.
these are the things that
You've
I
already
hear
given me
about a lot.
valuable information, even in this quick little moment
Thank
of me
you,
wondering
thank
like how
you.
you got that.
The
Let's pivot
Okay,
because
let's do it.
it's Pride.
Yes, it's
And
right.
this podcast will be coming out later, but we are literally so lucky because I know how so busy you are. Tell us, what are you doing for Pride in San Diego? Tell us a little bit more about Black Pride too, because I feel like a lot of people would love to
Yeah.
hear about that and your involvement
Thank
in it.
you.
And let's talk a
Okay.
little bit about our plans this weekend.
Whew. So as Alex said, so this week is Pride Week, and this is Pride for San Diego's tomorrow time of recording. So this week has been like hell week. Like it's been like every day I'm answering a question, every day I'm doing something. My role is gathering volunteers, so I'm organizing folks to walk with us in the parade, then to volunteer our resource area at Pride. I'm on the board of Black Pride, which is a nonprofit organization, 501c3, as of 2021. We began as a project of San Diego Pride, which is an organization that puts on Pride every year and then also does year-round programming. We began as a fiscally sponsored project of that organization, and then we switched fiscal sponsors in 2020 to the Center, LGBT Center, which then supported us in getting a lawyer and helped get us documentation to become and file for 501c3 status. And so, as a coalition, we would do like smaller year-round programs for the Black queer and trans community. We also would do several bigger black focus black focus programs that were like not Black Pride but like Black Pride-esque. And then at the Pride Festival, we would be at the Pride Festival doing like a Black resource area. Since we became a 501c3, we launched our own Black Pride event. The first 2 years were just one-day events. The first one was at Hotel Solomar, which is now I think Margaritaville downtown, and then it has evolved now to a multi-day to a weekend event. So this year, which happened a few weeks ago, we did a welcome mixer and then Kiki ball at Gossip Grill, which was amazing. We do about 3 balls a year. If those who don't know balls like ballroom, if you watch Pillars, are legendary. It's ingrained in black and Latina queer and trans culture, originated East Coast New York, that came to the West Coast, around the world. People they walk categories. You can walk like sex sound. You can walk like femmeriness. You can walk like past stealth in business or executive. So you have different categories that relate to the outside, cis hetero world, and how do you navigate and you walk categories to see how you pass into that. So we've hosted several balls. So this year we did a Kiki ball at Gossip Girl, and Kiki is like a new form of balls that's a bit more the younger folks, the Gen Zers, younger millennials, Gen Alpha folks. And then Saturday we did a private event at Tower Beach Club in Mission Beach, where we did a Freaknik party inspired by the Freaknik movement in the 80s and 90s from HBCUs, 90s not 80s I believe, just 90s and HBCUs. And then Sunday we did a day party at Riches San Diego, and then that went into Stunt, which is hosted by Strawberry Corn Cakes, who's also a Black trans incredible activist and figure in San Diego, and she hosts Stunt every week. So then it flowed into Stunt as well too, and it was amazing to see how many Black, queer, and trans folks from around the state came here, some even around the country. We attracted hundreds of Black, queer, and trans folks, which if you live in San Diego, you don't see all of us gathering in one place like that ever, and which is so special. I've been on the
That's
board for about 4 years. I began and worked with the voluntary organization. So we don't have paid staff. We're all volunteers for now. And so we are the board and the organization itself. So we are doing a lot of capacities. So we all have full-time jobs outside of this, trying to make it work. During my time here, we've launched the Damon J. Shearer Scholarship, which is a scholarship that gives about $1,000. Oh, no, our first year was $1,000. And this year we're doing $10,000, split up between applicants, for folks exiting high school in Black, queer, and trans students exiting high school into undergrad. We also launched a trans emergency fund, which was the first of its kind, really, in the region, that would help Black trans folks who are either need help with emergency housing or access to HRT, hormone therapy, or other medications relating to their transition process. We paused it for this year because we're evaluating the success of it and then figuring out how we can get more grants to do it further and possibly get it endowed. We'll see how that goes. So that's what we do now. That we do Black Pride, and then to our plans this weekend, we're walking the parade as a Black Pride contingent. We have about 35 people walking with us, which is exciting. Because of my award from San Diego Pride, I'll be in a little convertible car leading the contingent, which is fun. I'm really excited for that. I'm gonna have my little like Jackie O moment, just like waving.
I was
My
homecoming queen, but Jackie is
no, but
better.
Homecoming as well. Thank you. Homecoming was better. I
No,
mean,
homecoming.
thank you. Jackie O brings up, brings up some tense history as well too. So I want, I'll take Homecoming Queen instead. My brother, who's also queer, is he's actually about to arrive here probably in a half hour. So I'm excited for. He'll be in the car with me. And then my best friend and roommate will be in the car with me as well too. And then we'll have 2 golf carts that will be decorated and blinged out, and then a truck with a DJ behind us, and we'll have the community of folks we have in between us will be parading through the parade. And also I'll be at the festival too, volunteering with the Black Resource Area. So we have a resource area that people will come for Black Pride information, swag, and then we also help run the movement stage, which is typically like hip hop as it's framed, sometimes urban, which we're trying to shift that language, like
Yeah,
not urban.
really
But yeah, I was like, that's an interesting term, but we're working on it together. That's my
outdated.
plans this weekend. Probably go out to a few bars and stuff too. I'm somebody, so I grew up in the Bay where San Francisco Pride is free. So when I moved to San Diego, I was like, you gotta pay for Pride. That's actually wild. And so many Pride events are also not free. Like the rally's not free. Many of the bars are not free. So I'm somebody who was like, I'm not for that life. I'll go to the free bar, call that a good day. I'll go to the festival and call that a good day. But don't have me go out and just weekend pool parties. Don't have me go out to like I won't go to Riches and pay $40 to go. Like that's just not my journey. Like Pride should be free because we are queer folks who need to have Pride. So give it to us. Give it to us for free. That's my anyone from Pride lifestyles are listening. This is my call to action for you. Give us the free stuff, please, because we need it, and we deserve it as well. Yeah. What are your plans?
So, our office, Chrome City's headquarters, is in the heart of Hillcrest.
Yes.
And so we're going to have a bunch of friends. Like, I have a bunch of friends that also have kids, and it can be really overwhelming with the crowds. So, we decided to invite a bunch of our friends, but also our friends with kids, to come into the office and watch the parade and have snacks and have
Ooh.
cocktails. So, we will be cheering you on from above.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
then I am the founding chapter member, or sorry, what's the proper name for this? The chapter founder for San Diego's Drag Queen Story Hour. So I've been producing that
Yes. Okay.
2018. Last year got really, really, really intense with
Mm.
backlash. So we've
Mm-hmm.
kind of waited it out a little bit this year, but we are doing our first one of the season with Pickles, the drag queen, at Pride on Sunday. So I will be there and
Yes.
come find you. I'm so excited. We'll be continuing that throughout this year, but our kickoff is Pride. We like doing it like, once every other month and then through the fall when like school starts. But that's been just a wonderful way to immerse myself in San Diego's community and meet more like-minded people, and just I wanted to meet other like queer families, and it's just been a lovely experience, but it's also been an eye-opening experience that
Mm.
I have not experienced some of the things that people who are presenting in different ways than I am get like experience on a regular basis. And
Mm-hmm.
it's still to this day like something that, shakes me to my core. And I don't want to take away from other people's experiences by making it, centered around me crying. So I'm always like very cautious of that. But I think I just have such a tender heart for the queer community and was always an ally and then came out later in life. And, I just, I am so happy that it's Pride. I'm happy to be out. I'm happy to have our offices in the heart of Hillcrest. I'm happy to celebrate my friends that have gone through so much, to have families as queer couples. And yeah, it's just a really exciting time. It makes me want to cry no matter what. So
I'm
there
into
I am.
that. I'm into that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
Alex. Truly,
Yeah.
that means a lot because going from like ally to part of the community is never, I imagine, not an easy transition like at all in some ways because you see yourself as outside and ancillary to the community to then being a part of it. Like I imagine it's not an easy transition. I hope that people were receiving and welcoming of you and like brought you in with so much
Yeah.
love. I
Thank
really
you.
hope.
I'm always cautious because I still feel like I'm just an ally, and it's a whole nother conversation we could have about like
Mm,
when you're bi and you're queer, but you're dating a man. Like I was just listening to
you
a
and me will
podcast.
unpack that together over a glass of wine. That's what we're gonna do
You
because I'm
should.
here
Yeah.
to affirm you in
Another,
all the ways, baby.
yeah, I'm in a hetero relationship, with, a cis white man. And so I don't want to have any ownership or take away from just so many other ancillary experiences that I
Mm.
feel is more important to either highlight, watch, listen to, or understand. But I also think there's a lot of people who, you know, have experiences like mine. So it's always worth sharing. Um, and I'm just so grateful for this time with you. And I will definitely come and find you this weekend. And I can't wait
Yes.
to see you in your little car doing your thing.
I heard my outfit, girl. I don't know what to wear for this. I'm like, what am I gonna do for Pride? I don't know what to wear. I bought some clothes. Hopefully, they come in on time. I'm like, I'm excited, but I'm also like, it's gonna be like on Monday. It'd be my roommate's birthday, so we already booked a night at a hot springs resort on Monday.
Huh?
So I was like, girl, I'm excited this weekend, but I'm really ready for Monday. Like, I'm ready to just do nothing. Because
Well, you better have
also,
an umbrella because it's gonna be so
girl, hot.
yeah.
You're right. I should. That's what made today's umbrella. That's a good idea, actually. Thank you for
Yes.
that.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, we love you so much. Thank you for your time, and I'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you so much, Alex. Truly, before we go, may I give a blessing, if
Yeah.
that's okay? For folks who are listening, I'm Jewish, and my Judaism is really important to me, and the idea of blessings is really important to me. I've been thinking a lot about the idea of blessing ourselves and blessing people around, being connected to the divine. I believe that there's a value called B'Tselem Elohim, which is in the image of the divine, and people say in His image, and they mean that through a sense of like crafted to be like him, or I know I say them whoever they are, but I believe that we're actually pieces of them. Like if anyone does Harry Potter, like we're actually like God's Horcruxes, just little pieces of their souls. We're actually all godly people, and we all are parts of God, and we see that in each other. And I was going to say earlier, Alex, to the point of like you attract and draw yourself. Like we're all just reflections of each other, and so
Yeah.
there's a piece of me that reflects you, and vice versa. And I'm so thankful that we found each other in this lifetime. So the blessing I want to give is for anyone who is feeling wild and wise and who wants to be wild and wise. Maybe all connect with the divinity inside of us every single day. Even when we don't feel it, maybe we just remind ourselves that we are connected to it. The divinity itself is the personification of being wild and wise, and may we lead ourselves with the wild and wise divineness that we have. May it lead us into beautiful spaces where we belong. May we craft belonging wherever we are. May we find and experience love and joy in every place that we exist with others, and maybe find a lot of wholeness within ourselves as we experience and traverse this wild and wise world around us. Amen. And thank you so much for letting me bless us with that.
Can that be the opening for my podcast for every single episode? Can you just bless it with your voice?
I'd be honored, girl. I'd be honored. I'd be like, oh, why is that me again?
Where's
Wow. Stop.
Oh, I love you. You're so
I
great.
love you.
And
Thank you.
I'm just so grateful that you are in our city and being who you are.
I receive it.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.